Thank you. Okay, if those of you that are in attendance online, if you could just put in the chat that you're here, and we will begin with our agenda. I'm going to ask you all to introduce yourselves, but Rob and Kathy, if you could help me look at the joined thing. Because
yeah. Do you want me to write them down?
No, you don't have to write them down, but if someone comes and I don't click them in.
Okay.
All right. So the first thing on the agenda is Cynthia, and I don't know if you're ready to give an update, Cynthia, but what we're looking for is this is part of the plan to gather enough information about what we're currently doing and what task force are out there. I don't think there's a master list. I know Adam mentioned something, but Cynthia's taking control of that list. So did you want to say anything about it, Cynthia?
Yep, this is just something that Pablo was very great at beginning. And so there's a lot of research that kind of needs to be done as far as like who the head of all of these agencies that we can all come together. And so I'm doing the research right now. I'll probably have another update probably by our next with like a list of all the individuals. But yeah, that has begun. Is there anything else you want me to talk about, Pablo?
No, I just think if you all could just take a look at that list. There's a link in the agenda and add to it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we want to capture every task force, every network, anybody that's meeting regularly to talk about homelessness or housing, and get that on that list. All right. Entering James Mathy to the conversation here. So I'm really excited to have James do this and potentially come to Greater Lafayette and help us out. When I had the first conversation with James, I told him I thought I was speaking to a movie star because I've seen the film so many times and he's like my favorite character in the movie. No offense, Don and Tim, but James has brought it home for me, and it's close enough. It's Milwaukee, it's Midwest, and I'm like, if Milwaukee could do it, Greater Lafayette could do it. More importantly, if Indianapolis can do it, Greater Lafayette can do it. So, James, if you wouldn't mind joining the group and give us an introduction and kind of what
somebody wants in.
Kind of what you think we need, what your normal plan is, and we could kind of go from there and answer questions.
Sure. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So sorry for being tardy. I had 12:30 Central Time, so I am Central Time. So I thought we were in an hour from now. So Don and Tim, thanks for the text message.
Welcome to our world when we go to Chicago, because it's
yeah. I did not plan for the time change when I get the invite, so I apologize. So thank you for having me. So again, my name's James Mathy. I'm the housing administrator for Milwaukee County, as was mentioned. Also part of the social impact campaign with Beyond the Bridge film. So my involvement with the film and then across the country varies from municipality to municipality and nonprofit to nonprofit. So sometimes I'm just in cities as a part of the panel process with Don and Tim. But for these purposes, I also do consulting for municipalities and nonprofits. And that can look, it looks different in every city that I do this in. Sometimes it is sessions with political leaders. Sometimes it's sessions with businesses. Sometimes it's community education. And sometimes it's helping a community the whole entire homelessness plan. So it varies from community to community, everywhere from a 1-day engagement up to a 6-month engagement. So it all depends on each community. Been involved in large communities like Kansas City and Louisville, to smaller places like La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Have worked with nonprofits as well as municipal governments. And a lot of it is really helping communities take a look at their overall homelessness system, trying to figure out what is not working, what is working, and take a lot of the concepts that were developed here in Milwaukee and try to bring those to different communities. And Don and Tim know this. The size of the community doesn't necessarily matter, or the size of the nonprofit doesn't necessarily matter. There's what I think are some universal truths to how to use these systems. And this is on housing, unsheltered homelessness, how groups do homeless outreach, how to connect folks out of outreach into housing more quickly, and how to get nonprofits, governments, and businesses kind of all on the same page. The majority of the communities that I talk to, there's still an awful lot of debates. Could I ask a favor? There's a lot of feedback. Could folks mute their microphones? Oh, thank you. There's always a lot of competing interest in different cities where people aren't united around one solution and one plan. So I try to kind of steer folks in that direction. Other things I'm involved with, this might be relevant to your group. I've also done some strategic planning work with local foundations that are interested in housing and homelessness, trying to make their involvement more as a part of an overall solution. Also very big into data-driven best practices. What we focused on in Milwaukee, and it was talked about in the film, I really like to talk to communities about how to have guaranteed annual reductions in homelessness and what it takes to do that. Oftentimes, a lot of communities are going to report how many people they served and all that's wonderful. In order to really have a best practicing functioning system, you want to be able to tell healthcare organizations and HMOs and businesses, if we're going to be asking them to contribute to a solution of homelessness, those are the groups that really want those types of outcomes. So our number one outcome and our North Star and all of our decisions that we make in the system we built here are all about trying to give all of our stakeholders annual reductions in homelessness. So that is kind of how we look at it here in the Milwaukee area and what I try to do with different cities. So again, it looks very different city to city and cater a lot of what we do to each individual municipality and what we do in smaller communities is definitely different than larger communities, but also kind of has the same backbone to it as far as some of the things we recommend. So I'm going to stop there and just like to hear from you all about what you're thinking, what your challenges are, and how we might be able to help. I think you guys have to unmute.
I'm not new to this, but
That's okay.
Anyway, so we had a very successful screening as far as I'm concerned. We had all of the key players, not all of them, but every key area represented in a big way, probably about 350 people. Good response afterwards. But we're at a point where, this committee knows we're ready. The people are ready. The spirit's there. The elected officials want to make this work. The service providers are doing top-notch work on another level compared to other cities, but the coordination's not there. And I'm not involved in politics enough to know some of the ins and outs of where money is and where we can find money. But at this stage, I want someone to come in like you to help us get to that next stage. So we could take this committee, which really was formed last April to bring the film, and that was it. And we did it. Take this and transition to a task force that really has kind of that leverage and the know-how and the history and the political will to get it done. So we're hoping you could do that magic for us. And is that something you've done before? Or you...
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense, and it's great. There's. I'm glad you all are thinking about kind of what comes next after the film. Some communities that Don and Tim have worked with have had these amazing showings, and then everybody gets really excited about what's next. And then if communities aren't ready to answer that question, you kind of lose all that momentum. So it's great that you guys are thinking about that. So what I've done in other places in the same sort of cadence, right after the film, and there's some excitement. I could kind of go through for whatever stakeholders you all want. Maybe it's one meeting or a series of meetings to talk about what an overall well-functioning homeless system looks like. And again, regardless of how big your city is, there's certain components that you need to have, and they need to work together. And a lot of folks don't know anything about all the components. There's expertise here, there's expertise there. One of the things that was unique about our journey is we as county government in the housing division that I run, we took over a lot of those programs and run them all in-house, and it's all centralized. So in a lot of other communities that don't have the ability to do that or haven't yet, there might be 9 or 10 different agencies and a couple level of governments and different directors that you all have to kind of herd into one plan. So a lot of it would be is kind of explaining what all those puzzle pieces need to be, and then diagnosing who has what pieces in your community and how all those fit together. And it can be, depending on how intricate you want it to be, if it's more than one day, it's looking at your, and I'm not sure if you guys know all the different monikers or the different things, but looking at federal money, looking at your local housing authorities, administrative plans, looking at your continuum of care, Medicaid billing, all those different types of things to try to get to the root of a homeless problem, if you have one, or if you're just trying to make things better in general. So that's a lot of what it is. And I think it's a good way for all different stakeholders to kind of get it, to say, oh, that's okay. So we need those 2 other things. I do have a little control of that. We should talk more about what that can look like, especially around housing authorities. Housing authorities are certainly a big one. And the other thing I like to do too is there's always a lot of animosity between the business community, who looks at homelessness as an economic development issue, frankly, may lack the empathy that a lot of us may want to see for the people we serve. And on the other end, homeless advocates that are very well-meaning, but really don't know how to participate in a system. And a lot of it is to get all of those folks on the same page. So I talk a lot about, it doesn't matter what got you to the table. If it's economic development only and you just want homelessness out of your business district, you're welcome at the table and you're welcome to use that language, as long as you're going to be a part of the solution with everybody else around the table. We often hear dramatically different opinions on homelessness. And that is okay if people are supporting the same plan with the same outcomes. So I think we've had, and hopefully Don and Tim back us up on this, we've had a lot of success with business leaders in business districts across the country. They're not used to hearing this message. They often censor their views on what homelessness is, but we have found that a majority of them want to be compassionate, and a majority of them will financially contribute to a system that they believe is going to work. But a lot of businesses just don't believe those systems can work.
Oh, we do have one question over here.
So briefly, I'm David Sanders, City Councilor in West Lafayette.
Yeah.
And I appreciated your statements about being able to communicate with others about progress. So I was wondering whether there are already in existence, whether you have a draft I know it has to be tailored to our own individual situation, but a draft of milestones, right? You within X amount of time, you should have arranged for writing a federal grant, or within X amount of time, you should have communicated with businesses about something. You have a sort of a framework of how we should proceed to make progress on these issues.
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, it is very, very dependent on each municipality. There are some municipalities that, frankly, are so far behind and broken that we need to start over. Based on the little I know about your situation, you're not one of those. So, diagnosing really troubled housing authorities and troubled homeless systems is going to have a very different timeline and starting point than others. I would probably want to know a little bit more about your situation to put together something like that. And looking at your homeless numbers and your point in time numbers, that's where some of this, I'd hesitate to give you a general one size fits all sort of timeline without knowing a little bit more about your community. So
I'm guessing that you, once we engage you as a consultant, you would ask us for some certain data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then after the visit because I'm thinking I wouldn't be able to do that either, but after the visit might be able to develop a timeline for us and milestones.
Yeah, I think there's multiple different ways that you could approach this. I could just come in and do some presentations to teach people about what a functional homeless system could look like. I could give you kind of a list of questions that I would have for your community ahead of time. So a council member to try to get at some of those timeline and do some advanced work to be able to come in and say, this is what I've learned about your community. Here's some of the solutions, but based on what I learned and the reports I got, this is kind of what I'm thinking before I get there. So that can either happen pre or post presentations. That would be up to you all. But there's going to be a fairly standard list of questions that I would ask in advance if you wanted me to do some prep work. And those are going to be, council member, pretty standard questions regardless of the community and size.
Anybody else have questions?
Dave, have you done work with other communities within the state of Indiana? I'm new to this group, so you mentioned Indianapolis, but are there other cities within the state?
No, I believe Indianapolis was the only one we were involved with, and that was more early work with the film, a lot of work with the faith-based community, kind of looking at their homelessness system. But Indianapolis was, I believe, the only one in Indiana.
Any similar in size to West Lafayette area?
What's the population, Lafayette area?
Somebody help me.
150,000 is a good number.
Sure. So, yeah, it's been everything from, I'd say, population of 30,000 all the way up to 1 million, to be honest. Very different sizes. So, yeah, that population, certainly a lot of experience. And again, every city has a different baseline for homelessness. Like, I'd love to know what your point in time count was, and not to get into the weeds, but how your continuum of care system operates, if that's a Lafayette continuum of care or statewide. And so regardless of the population, a lot of it is what resources you locally control versus resources that are controlled by a state or by federal and by formulas. That's where a lot of that gets a little complicated. I'm not sure if any of you know generally what your homeless statistics look like. It's communities range dramatically in a population your size.
I can speak to that a little bit. So
Introduce yourself.
I'm Mason. I'm the Homeless Services Director at LUM. I'm also the Regional Planning Chair for our region. So we're in a little bit of a unique situation. Homelessness has basically doubled in the last 2 years here. In 2024, our PIT count was about 160 for the county. 2025 was 230, and this year we expect it to be about 330.
Is that's not unsheltered, is it?
It's not unsheltered, no. That's our total that's our total homeless population.
Oh, okay.
We
Okay.
have about 80 shelter beds between us and LTHC right now. So
Do you know what your unsheltered number is?
I don't off the top of my head, no.
Adam, are you on the line?
50 unsheltered?
50 unsheltered.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very, very helpful. So those numbers are actually pretty decent. I think for comparison, our point in time unsheltered number, so our county is about 1 million people. We were at 52 last year. We should be about that same amount. This year, we're in the middle of a point in time right now, as some of you know. So our unsheltered numbers are about the same as yours. Our shelter numbers are higher than that. We have a decent amount of shelter beds and warming room capacity. And some of it too is also diagnosing communities' use of shelter beds. Who has access to them? Is that a part of coordinated entry, or is it more mission-based? And those are some of the diagnostic things too that you would look at. I've been surprised in some communities where they have a well-functioning homeless outreach team, but they have zero direct access to any shelter beds. So there's all kinds of things we've learned across the country where even for communities that don't have a lot of additional resources to fix things, there's systematic improvements that communities can make without additional investments that could give you access to more shelter and housing beds without additional resources. So additional resources are wonderful for the communities that really want to make an effort into doing that, or for ones that can't. It's also just looking at the efficacy of their current system around shelter and housing.
I have a question. We're going to be doing an open forum for the individuals that attended the event in early March, probably March 5th, and probably going to follow up with the key people that need to meet with you to make sure their schedules are clear when you're here. So we're probably not going to engage you until end of March, early April at the earliest. So between now and then, what do we need to do? We've been, and I'll give you a little thumbnail of what we've been heavy in on right now is we've been really recruiting religious leaders. We've been trying to get healthcare providers, hospitals. We haven't really done much with business and philanthropy, and we've been pushing the 3 councils. So we're a river city. There's Wabash runs right through us. There's Purdue on the west side, which is part of the dynamics of this community. But there's 2 cities that go up against the river, and then a county that also has residents on the outer circle of the cities, but they also have responsibilities within the cities. So that's kind of what we're working with. But right now on the call, I believe we have West Lafayette, and county council members. So we're doing better.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So is there any suggestions on what we can do between now and then to be more prepared for your meeting?
I think it is probably some of the initial work would be to really do this the right way, just making sure that you have all the stakeholders that you're going to want to have for an exercise like this. And it sounds like you have a lot of them in the room. I would definitely recommend making sure that there's some healthcare leaders available and Also, maybe a conversation amongst yourself if this is going to be more of a county-wide solution or if it is more just a Lafayette solution. If there's some county, I don't know if it's county board, whatever the vernacular is there, if there's some county board members, fantastic. Maybe it's a county-wide effort, which I think would be great. And if whether it's just Lafayette or countywide, trying to identify some very key business leaders to engage in this. Maybe ones from your local business district or wherever there may or may not be homeless encampments or unsheltered homelessness. Getting those business folks at the table early to be a part of this, I would highly recommend. Also having a law enforcement representatives, whether that's Lafayette Police or county sheriff, whatever that looks like for you all. Definitely have law enforcement involved. Various philanthropic groups. The home run of some of these exercises is to get various philanthropic groups to look at homelessness through the same lens. That's often a challenge. You have a lot of well-meaning foundations giving, $5,000 here and $4,000 there to 15 different concepts about homelessness. And if folks are willing to work together towards one plan, that $5,000 becomes $300,000 towards the plan that you guys are trying to do to reduce homelessness. So making sure you have the right philanthropic groups on there. So that I would just recommend making sure that, and service providers, so all the different folks that you think touch this issue, to be able to have them kind of ready to hear a presentation and what that looks like. So that would be the first thing, is kind of building what that coalition would look like, as well as your continuum of care. I don't know if that's a Lafayette continuum of care or Balance of State or what that looks like for Lafayette, but definitely engaging with your continuum of care and a housing authority representative. That's another big one.
Could I say one thing?
Yes, please.
Just one thing. We've just been in touch with a city with another huge university, and universities and university towns take up a lot of the oxygen and don't seem to be involved much with this. But we just got put in touch with the COO of a major university, which means that when we go to their city, that university is going to be heavily involved with their home, try to drag them into the homeless response. If you can get anybody like that from Purdue to help out and to be part of it, I think it would make a major difference in your situation.
Could you speak more to what exactly, is there a specific title or responsibility that they have?
Just any decision maker that can get the, like that guy runs the whole big university that's probably a little bigger than Purdue. He's the chief operating officer. His voice can carry if he says that we need to get involved with the greater community in this response, especially since a lot of our students are living in cars or homeless or whatever, then it's going to happen. If you get anybody at that level, so if you get anybody at Purdue that has access to that level, even if it takes 3 or 4 different rungs to get to that person. I'll just call one place. We went to Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. Their homeless problem, their housing problem is in large part due to the university. And they don't have anything to do with the homeless response, and they're just putting pressure on, how the thing works. So if you can get the university involved, that has plenty of money to be involved, that is in a town like yours, that would be key, I think.
Okay, go ahead, jump in.
So David Sanders again. I was thinking as you were speaking, also as the previous speaking, was talking that one of the things that happens with Purdue is that they engage with local projects. And so a professor will have some sort of community engagement project for their class. And it seems like that would be people to try to involve as soon as possible in this sort of project, because they both communicate upwards through the university, but also to potentially to the community with solutions. They try. I mean, we're a big engineering school, and engineering solutions to society's problems is one of the things in which they engage. So I think that, you know, working with the university, identifying those people in various departments who are potentially interested in this issue and can bring more data, more engagement to the issue would be a valuable approach.
I mean, good news is we did have good representation from Purdue at the film screening. I know I saw the student union director and his supervisor. The police department sent an officer. The chief was busy that day. We've got, so it's just going to take another follow-up. I mean, we invited everybody from the president all the way down to residential life and union, student union, and we did get some, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good idea. I mean, there could be different schools within Purdue. It could be social work. It could be data evaluation. It could be architects that want to get involved in future housing development, and there's all kinds of different ways that universities could get involved. Evaluation would be a big one as well, about, you know, if you were to redesign your system a little bit, how do you evaluate those changes? And if we invested into more permanent housing and housed X amount of people, a lot of what I present on too is best practices around data and cost savings, and how to evaluate the changes that you made to be able to do that. So I think that'd be great to heavily involved University like Purdue. That's a great idea. And thank you for the chat. It balance the state continuum of care. So that's one of the things about a population your size, that you have a little bit more of a challenge. So your federal resources for homelessness, you're kind of competing with everybody else in the state for very, very limited funds. Being a part of a balanced state is a blessing and a curse. So you're going to have some more housing challenges because you don't have your own direct resources that other communities have. And there's different ways to get around that. But a lot of it is just making sure that folks in Lafayette know federal resources, unfortunately, are not going to be a solution to your problem. Especially with balance of state, it's going to be very, very limited federal assistance, which is where you have to come up with more locally based solutions, which is a lot of what we talk about.
All right, any more questions? We probably should spend not more than another 5 minutes with Jim.
I do have one question for you, Jim. So when you were kind of reaching out to these agencies, to these leadership, like businesses, philanthropists, like, did you ever get any hesitation that they didn't want to help, or how did you navigate that when they denied?
So we rarely ran into, especially with the businesses, we never got kicked out of a room. But I will tell you, the most effective meetings, my example would be, and again, you guys don't have to do it this way, was Fargo, North Dakota. And the Fargo businesses had a little bit of a mistrust that anything the government is going to do is actually going to help them solve their homelessness problem. And the city was developing a really good plan. So, I met with the businesses and kind of asked the city not to bring any representatives there, where it was just the business leaders. And it really allowed them to speak freely, to say, we're happy to help, but convince us that whatever they're going to talk to us about is really going to work. So we really want to build rooms and situations where people can speak freely. Most people are willing to have the conversation, but they will be honest with you that they don't necessarily know if it's going to work. Same thing with philanthropic groups, but definitely business leaders, especially in downtown areas. That can be a tough sell, but we've always found they're willing to listen, and they always say, people think we just want to arrest all these homeless people. We don't believe any of that, but nobody's given us any sort of alternative that we truly believe is going to work. So a lot of that early work, the hard part is just convincing them that, what they're hearing is different. There's going to be this new push. They definitely don't want to hear, we're just going to invest in the same things we've been doing, especially if there's some general community frustration around homelessness. That's not something they want to hear. So yeah, just having people speak very freely from their point of view is really important in these early stages. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I guess for us is a lot of people want to help, right? But then when it's kind of time to ask for money, it's kind of a little different. And so, well, not different, but kind of like, okay, well, now it's like a different topic. And so I didn't know how you manage that, like with those conversations, like.
Great question. So briefly, two different ways that we approach that. Even though we have one plan, and the thing about Milwaukee, we don't have any debates about the solution to homelessness. That's all done. It doesn't matter if you're law enforcement or businesses. It's our plan we developed, and everybody's on the same page. And that took, 3-4 years to get there. But each one of our stakeholders has different outcomes. So our business leaders, our downtown business district pays for my homeless outreach coordinator as a government employee. They pay 100% of her salary and rent assistance. They expect continual annual reductions in homelessness. And if we can't deliver that, it is completely acceptable for them to take their money back. Another example, and it's all geared towards the same housing principles, are we get a lot of money from HMOs and private hospitals where they give us money to hire government staff to work with high acuity folks in their hospital systems that they're losing a lot of profit on. Their goal is, if they're going to invest in the county's housing programs, they want a 3-to-1 return on their financial investment in cost savings. So everything's a little different, and you can kind of lump all that together. So those are two totally different data sets that we have to provide to them. But if you're reducing homelessness, it's all going to work together. It's all about housing stability, increased costs, and then we're going to look at decreases in psychiatric crisis visits. We're going to, for our law enforcement friends, we're going to track reductions in police contacts. We're going to track reductions in municipal tickets. So we track all those different things depending on who the stakeholders are, and that's how they kind of buy in, because their self-interests are met. But it all fits into our overall metric in overall reductions in homelessness, especially unsheltered homelessness.
Yeah, you mentioned lowering citations. Quick question. At this point, do we need to engage judges or the prosecutor's office? We did have a judge on our panel at the event.
That's fantastic. Yes, please do. One of our first, our first two big partners when we started doing this was the district attorney's office and the downtown business district leader. Those are the first two people that we started with. So yes, if you already have a judge on your panel, a judge and the DA, absolutely.
Helpful when you're here on the 5th, if you could speak to the metrics that typically resonate with different parts of the community, whether it businesses, whether it be schools, whether it be hospitals, whatever. If you could speak to some of those, because some metrics will be important to one and not to others. And so,
and we do have a downtown district. We have a campus district, but we also have big industry, and we've got Subaru, Caterpillar, what used to be Wabash National.
Kirby Rose.
Arconic, which was Alcoa.
Sure. Yeah. So depending on what you guys want this to look like, I present data sets on every one of those groups, what our data was, how we track it. Everything from how we started to kind of prove our case with mental health savings to our behavioral health services. Yeah, we have examples for all those different data sets.
Do you have any final thoughts for us?
I don't think so. As you guys get farther along, just so I can kind of plan my schedule, as soon as you kind of have an idea of what dates I should be looking at for anything would be helpful. So I don't need that today or anything, but just so I could kind of plan my future scheduling, that would be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'm convinced we need to bring you. So I don't know, but I'm only one vote. So yeah, I'll be in touch with you. I could be in touch quickly either today or tomorrow. And we'll try to nail down a date or at least a range of dates today.
Yeah, and it can be somewhat flexible as well with a little bit of notice. So.
And we're talking 1 full day, 2 full days. What's your preference?
I generally leave that up to you all. We could talk more about that, depending on who all the stakeholders are and how much you want to do. I've done 1 day, 2 days, and then also kind of longer engagements depending on the time commitment. So we can kind of talk through all that, but I can be a little flexible at the moment.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry about the Eastern time zone, Central time zone, and thanks Don and Tim for the text message.
No worries. No worries. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you all. Nice to meet you.
Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I'm re-energized. So we're going to jump to the number 3 on our agenda. So I'm cognizant of the time, and I think some of these are going to be pretty easy to go through. I do we don't have to formally vote, but I want you to look at the open forum planning details. And if we can get any feedback on that, basically I want to know if I can move forward with this as it reads there. So the date is confirmed with Connection Point. They're available on March 5th at 2 p.m. The idea was go back to the original event site to capture that energy, some familiarity. We'll do it in the sanctuary, but it'll be more of a I'm thinking like a medium to large size conference presentation as opposed to an event. And the original thought from this committee and what we saw in the evaluations was we wanted to focus on what systems do we have in place now and what's the history of what got us to where we are now, so that they know, like we do, that the systems are there. And we're doing good work. It's just the coordination, or I'm not going to suggest what the solutions are, but yeah. So the idea would be to have 1 or 2 people that have a lot of information, and the rest of you in the audience, if the question answer is specific to your service, then you could answer it. Does that make sense? Any questions, comments? This group
Who's
is very
the target audience for this?
These are the people that attended the event, and any other key group that we're trying to get representation from. So
is 2 o'clock a good time to have that? Wasn't the event at night?
No, it was at 2.
Okay.
Actually, it was at 1:30ish. Yeah, good question, and I'm not going to pretend I know the answer. I got from one person 6 o'clock or 4, 5, 6 o'clock would be better, but then someone else said, well, you got 350 people to show up on a Thursday in November. Why mess with it? Thoughts?
I think evening would be a little bit more like people could go to work and then come to the event. You know what I mean? But I mean, you're right.
The devil's advocate there is a lot of us, this is our job. So during the day, we wouldn't have to commit night. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what I heard from that other person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay either way, and I think the church is okay either way.
I do think if we're going for a more general audience, we want people for whom this is not their job.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know. I think we would run into fewer scheduling conflicts if we did evening, but it would be a little bit of a strain maybe for the people who are in this room, but for one day. But if our specific goal, I think, is to reach people who don't do this work, then.
Okay. How do you want to settle this? Do you want to vote? Do you want to just put it in the chat?
I think because not everybody's here, maybe if you would like to do like a Survey Monkey.
I think the people that hear should be empowered to make the decision.
Okay.
I moved the time of this meeting to accommodate people, and they're not here. So, yeah. Anyway, yes, we could do that. I don't think we need to do Survey Monkey. We don't have that many people on the committee, but we could definitely send something out and say, give us a yay or nay. Either way, I'm going to get people there, right? So we'll promote it like crazy. But from this group, would you be more likely to show up at 2:00, or let's say we start at 4:35 with pizza and mingling, and we start a little later, and the pizza can be optional. I don't know. We have money for food.
Just from my perspective, three things. One is I actually have to leave in a few minutes because I teach on Thursday afternoon. So Thursday afternoon isn't good for me personally. Just so you know that. So that's two things. The second, before I leave, I just wanted to suggest I know Dr. Adams pretty well, and I'm part of the Health Equity Initiative at Purdue. I believe that this is a health equity, homelessness is a health equity issue. They have a lot of expertise there. And I think that bringing him and that team, getting them involved in this open forum would be a positive step. So
Awesome.
And I can do that since that's desirable.
I think that fits the agenda, where it's kind of what the state of where we're at with almost everything that would have impacted. So I'm open to that, definitely. So comments are leaning towards early evening, like 4, 5, 6-ish.
That's good for me.
I like
I'm sorry, I have to go.
4-ish.
Yeah, I think,
All right.
yeah.
4, any objection? What I'll do is I'll take your feedback because you're all here, and then I'll send it out in an email blast and say, I need a vote like within, 24 hours, because we have to start promoting this and getting it set in the church's schedule.
I don't think 4 is a good time.
Do you want later?
Well, so the reason I'm saying that is because we're trying, like what Mason was saying, is like we're trying to meet people or get people engaged and involved, and not everybody has a job that ends, or it might end at 4. So then by the time they get there, it's going to be 4:30. We're already 30 minutes into the discussion. You see what I'm saying? So like, I don't know. I think 5:30 with some pizza seems a little bit more accessible, like just kind of considerate of other people that have that aren't in this work. You know what I mean? So I oppose 4, sorry.
But 5, like just 60 minutes later is okay?
Yeah, well, think about it. Like people are getting off of work at like 4, and then by the time they
That's
drive.
fine. Can we hear from other people, please? Because I don't want to be the one that's always rebutting.
I'm more comfortable with 5 too, because I teach all afternoon, but
Well, we're gonna have, kids sports and parents going to those, and
You're not gonna,
that would be true too.
so you're gonna have there's gonna be all kinds of conflicts no matter what time we choose.
And remember, some of the, and I don't mean to generalize, but we're already in that space. Some of the people that we're inviting have the flexibility to leave their office and come to something like this at 4:00 or leave work early. And we're talking professors, we're talking elected officials, we're talking religious leaders, not 9-to-5ers. But yeah, and the people that attended. I'm not sure we're going to promote it. Well, we could talk about promotion, but at this point, we're just inviting the people that were there. We're going to target it to folks that understand, have seen the movie, and want to be a part of the movement forward. This isn't an an open forum for the public to educate them. It's an open forum to rally the troops and to get the key people at the table and see whether or not they're committed to go that next step. Thank you, David.
Sorry.
So 5 o'clock.
Bless you. Bless you.
Pizza seems like a good thing. Does the program sound okay? And we'll get to this, well, we can get to it now, but the call to action documents are the next thing on the agenda. I did fine tune it based on what your suggestions were from the last meeting. So if you click on that link, you'll see, maybe not. I'll make sure you get the most recent version of the call to action executive summary. The thought, but from last meeting to this meeting, is we need to turn that call of action into a pledge to support of some kind. It could be a paper pledge where they sign off on it, or what would you think of, what's that website that you put surveys on, not surveys, but petitions?
Change.org.
Change.org. Would you be opposed to a change.org type pledge thing, or? Because I think what would resonate with a lot of the people we're talking about is we can go to the table and say, we've got 1,000 people from Tippecanoe County that think this is a good idea, and they support the formation of a task force.
Wait, what's the purpose of the change.org?
To turn the call to action into, we're signing a pledge that we support this.
Okay, so just to get the word out to as many people as we can. And-
Or to get like names of important people within the community that say, we read your call to action and we support this. And I'm not saying that what kind of support, I'm just saying, do you like the idea of moving forward? Because this group here is not going to determine the timeline or the agenda of the task force. The task force is going to determine that, but we need to get that task force formed.
So this would be some type of social media survey?
Yeah, change.org is a well-known social media online platform. It's in the cloud where you put your petition up and then you send people a link, and it makes it really easy for them to sign it. I've done some of these in the past. The tricky part is knowing that they're all Tippecanoe County people signing it.
Exactly.
Because if I were on the council, I'd be like, who cares what someone in, Canada thinks about our homeless situation. So, but there is a way of kind of, I think, narrowing that down.
Sounds like be helpful.
Okay. And also it could be something that goes to meetings. Like if we're going to start doing some targeted meetings with business leaders or whatever, say, hey, would you at this point be comfortable signing the pledge? I just think that's a metric that we could use, as opposed to saying, hey, we got a lot of people that like us. It's like, no, we have like 100 signatures. Thoughts on that? I mean, I know it's kind of maybe to some too radical. And I pause for answers.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to take silence as, Lisa? No? As agreement. So we do have, thank you, West Lafayette City Council's here. Tippecanoe County Council's here, and I know that Ben is also committed to this. Lafayette, is anybody here from Lafayette City Council? All right. We did just send out a blast. I think if any of you know anybody in the Lafayette City Council, approach them and see if they'd be willing to just join this conversation. I just want them to feel like they've had a say at this level of how we're moving forward. I did skip over, I apologize. Did I skip over the faith? Or no, I'm not there yet.
Alliance is number 4.
Oh, thank you.
The small number 4.
Yeah, let's skip to number 4. So most of you know that there's something called GEMA in Indianapolis, the Greater Indianapolis Multi-Faith Alliance. and I've spoken to a number of religious leaders over the past 2 weeks, and there's a lot of interest with individual pastors, individual church staff, but we don't have a coordinated multi-faith group in town, except in the media, you probably saw that there was an interfaith group that held a rally over the weekend in support of how we treat our citizens, particularly people that are going through immigration issues. So I've reached out to that group, and apparently they formed, I think they called themselves the Greater Lafayette Interfaith Clergy Group.
Interfaith Alliance, I think.
Okay.
That started back with Rabbi, what's his name? Not the current one.
Yeah, but this one's relatively new, because I talked to Hillary Cook. I haven't reached out
maybe they
to
disbanded?
Jennifer. I don't think there was any movement with that one because the rabbi moved on. And so, yeah, well, there's been iterations of this. So the plan is to, if you're okay with this, to reach out to the individuals that are actually at that rally, also reach out to a group called the University Religious Leaders, which Hillary Cook from Good Shepherd is the chair of at this point. And that obviously is religious leaders that have something to do with Purdue students. And see if we could take the structure from GEMA, take the structure from University Religious Leaders, because that group's been around for decades, and figure out how to get something sustainable here. I've checked with the LUM board. They're willing to offer any kind of support to get it going, being sensitive to the fact that I don't think a service provider needs to dictate what religious leaders' agenda is, but certainly having an independent group of religious leaders, multi-faith, that would be willing to jump in on social issues from time to time, and they're certainly invited to this one. I've been in touch with GEMA in Indianapolis through Prosperity Indiana, and they do have a structure they're willing to talk to us about. So I think we could learn from other people that have had success with it, and I'm going to stop there and see what your thoughts are.
Pablo, I was surprised. I read the article about the event with the Greater Lafayette Interfaith Clergy. There was no one from the Catholic Diocesan Office and no parishes. And I talked to some priests at St. Tom's. They weren't even aware of the group. So
right, it was so spontaneous that they literally didn't invite everybody. And I saw that too. Brian, do you have a comment?
I would definitely have a different perspective on that. This is not to distract or anything like that, but the differences in groups are significant, and if I don't want to politicize it, but the politicized is I think more in line with what the group of clergy who you saw recently, and doing a little more research, on kind of who all is a part of that. I did not see any, I would say, more evangelical faith-based leaders a part of that. And generally those are, as the other gentleman had mentioned, anyone from the Catholic diocese. So I think it's a very split group in ideological as well as theological differences. So I think all groups would want to be a part, specifically what we're talking about homelessness. But I think if you only have one, it will set a precedence that others are not welcomed or their ideas are varied.
Well, I was at that. I attended that gathering.
Oh, great.
The rabbi was there, and there were several Presbyterian pastors there. What else? Methodist was represented. I'm not sure if there were any. I'm not sure if there were Catholic. If there was Catholic, I guess there was no Catholic representation. Okay, so there were. Yeah,
There's Presbyterian, Lutheran.
Methodist. maybe Unitarian.
Yeah,
And the rabbi was there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. So let's focus away from that. And a good point. I just thought it was interesting that we're trying to form something and something actually popped up. But if we do look at what's happening in Indianapolis and look at what's happened it's happening at Purdue, I think those are two good models of how you can come together around a common purpose, regardless of. And I've been to a lot of the university religious leaders meetings back in the day. Politics never came up. It was just how do we better serve our constituents. And I think that I definitely appreciate your point, Brian, and thank you for that.
Yeah. The Greater Lafayette Gospel Association,
yes,
if you've not reached out to them, would be another gourd organization.
Yeah, and actually offline or in the chat, if anybody has knowledge of any other organizations, even smaller, around just one denomination, would be fine. And we'll reach out to them. And Brian, you went to the summit on faith leaders in housing. Is that roughly what it was?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm curious about your opinion. I've also been in touch with Marie from Prosperity, Indiana, about bringing that to Greater Lafayette. She hinted that it would cost something when she met with us last meeting, but all she's looking for is a facility and some food. So personally, I think that might catapult us in the right direction, or we could use this as come to this event, learn something, but at the end, we're going to make a pitch that we need something a little bit more sustainable in this community if we're going to engage religious leaders in some of these important issues. Does that sound?
No, I absolutely agree. And, I think a networking of different ministries and what they're currently doing and how they can come alongside, this steering committee and task force to be a part of the conversation, I think it will be very helpful.
And you found that summit useful?
Yeah, certainly it was great to hear what others have done, but there were a lot of different organizations from financial institutions, to other organizations who come alongside to help you achieve from a faith-based perspective, what a housing model or a multi-unit housing model could look like, how they got there, and the sustainability behind that. So, I think that there was some, key takeaways that, really, sparked some, thoughts, for us. I went into it as an opportunity to learn more about, how we particularly play a part, and, saw what others doing that helped me align some of those with what we can do here in Greater Lafayette.
Awesome. Well, I'll be in touch with you, Brian. I really appreciate your perspective, and I think it sounds like we shouldn't get off track. We should focus on what this steering committee is about and pitch that with long-term benefits if this group wants to stay together beyond that and take up other issues.
Yeah, I definitely see, just getting back, just on the the numerous different churches. I mean, obviously, within LUM, there's a lot of partner churches that are already part of that. So they have a heart, for wanting to do something. And I think just to giving them the knowledge of what we are doing as a steering committee and how they can be a part in that, I think will definitely help to grow. So I think that's a big part of the base.
Great. Well, if I hear no objection, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to meet with the Executive Council of Lafayette Urban Ministry and then maybe to the board. And with the 53 church base we have on our board, figure that's a good place to start, plus engage the university religious leaders and some of the other groups in town, like the Gospel Alliance and all that. So, great.
Yeah. I would include as many people as possible. I'm not by any means in saying not to include anybody, but certainly better together.
And could you introduce yourself? Just make sure everyone knows where you're.
Oh,
who you
sorry.
are.
Yeah, this is Brian Courtney at Pastor Mount Hope Church up on the north end.
Awesome, thank you. Going to spend a couple of minutes just talking about the business portion of this. The what did he call it? Well, it's business. The business districts, business owners, and all that. So I've got on here Greater Lafayette Commerce, City and County Economic Development, and Community Foundation of Greater Lafayette. So would that be the first place you all would start?
Yes. I would also maybe the business, like the bagel. I don't know, they've got a bunch of money, don't they?
BAGL?
Yeah. Don't they
Is
have a
that-
bunch of money?
Is that real estate or is
They're
that?
builders.
They're
The Building
builders.
Association of Greater Lafayette.
Oh, good one. Good one. And I'm assuming that the city and county economic development folks would have direct lines to that group? Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I know some folks there too.
Although two businesses that seem to have been very involved in, and this is just from my viewpoint, it may not be accurate, but there may be others, but Wabash
Mhm.
and Cook Medical
Yes.
have both been very, very active in these. I think we ought to reach out to them directly.
Doesn't Cook have another name now? Something else
Cook
now?
they've got,
I thought there's something else now.
well,
Okay,
Cook
wait a
Medical
minute.
is part of the umbrella of Cook.
Well, the Cook
Something.
organization.
Yeah.
And Kirby, what about Kirby Risk?
Pablo, another organization or a group of organizations that I had shared after the meeting when I was speaking with Wes. I know they are a part of the movie event, but is that in our veteran community? I do serve as the homeless liaison for the Tippecanoe County Veterans Council, and so a lot of the different veteran organizations, do have a heart for looking to see how they can be a part as well. And so I think inviting our veteran organizations to be a part of the conversation is.
I think that would be
Yeah,
cool
pretty good
to
idea.
have them on the agenda for the open forum too.
Sure.
Yeah, and then there's also housing components to that too, where through HUD, there's ways of getting priority on lists and things like that. And I'm talking as a total ignoramus, but you get what I'm saying. All right, so I'm assuming that we should start with talking to like Dennis Carson and Michael Berger and
Jen Van Skyver?
who?
Jen Van Skyver?
Oh, yes. And that would be your economic development person, West Lafayette?
She's our director of development.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, I know Jen.
Mhm.
And Community Foundation is, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. I worked with him for
It's not Jeff-
decades.
It's not Jeff Love.
No. Anyway, I know his name. It's just not coming to me because
Lassiter.
David Lassiter.
Dave Lassiter, yeah.
And Adam, if you're not here, I'll contact you later, but I think Adam Murphy is probably a good person to maybe make those contacts with the city of Lafayette. And who would be with Jen? I could just,
I can call Jen.
yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. So the last thing on our agenda is to talk about James Mathy. Can I assume we all want to bring him?
Yes.
His fee is like, I think $250 an hour, which is like so reasonable. And any travel. And we have in our budget about $5,900. And I don't think we're going to spend that on pizza on the 5th. So we'll spend on pizza, but we won't deplete it. So any discussion on the dates? I'm very aware that in April we have Easter. And we also have like the Blue Night auction and what's the one that Food Finders does? That's probably May. Blue Jean Ball. That's late May 2nd. Convocations, we probably should look at those dates, but not really. Any other bad dates in April, or should I just?
I think Thursday nights are good.
I like
Yeah.
Thursdays.
So the plan is to go to the people we want to be in those smaller group discussions and make sure they can commit a block of time or someone from their administration or organization to represent them, because it would be kind of foolish to spend money to get them here and not have 2 mayors and a few county commissioners in the meeting. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know who else I think should be invited is somebody from APC. Ryan O'Gara, Area Planning Commission.
Oh, got it. So what would that be in Lafayette? Would that be Public Works?
Area Planning Commission.
Oh, Area Planning Commission.
Yeah, Ryan O'Gara is the director of the APC.
And that's countywide?
Yes, oh, yeah.
Ryan O'Gara.
Yeah.
Area Planning Commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm wondering, maybe it's premature, but I wonder if we ought to have a conversation with the community foundation, maybe the Lilly Foundation. Is this something that they could get behind and fund in some way? Not to, as specific ask, but just to plant the seed and find out what kind of openness there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the community foundation would do something, but I'm thinking bigger than that. If we could get the Lilly Foundation behind it, I mean, now.
I don't know if you all saw, but just a couple of days ago, Lilly Foundation gave $2.6 million to the Wheeler mission in Indianapolis.
Wow.
So it's within their wheelhouse to give to that. But I do think it's a little premature. I don't think it's premature to identify funding sources, because in this steering committee, there's people that know about federal and state and city sources that I do not know about, and come up with a short list to go into the task force. But I do want there to be a delineation between what this group is doing and then what the task force will be charged to do. Okay. Because I've said it in this meeting before, I don't think I'm a good person to be on the task force because I don't have that kind of influence. But I want the task force to exist. And I want to make sure
there is funding from the community foundation for consultants up to $25,000.
Oh, so we could tap them for Jim?
Potentially, yeah. I literally just saw an email about this. Hold on. I don't think the proposals are due until April though for that grant.
Okay.
So that might not be a bad funding source, at least for the consultant's fee.
Yeah.
It's worth asking. I mean, even if, there's grant deadlines and then there's little pots of money. Definitely.
I'll forward that to you.
Okay, great. Any other topics or updates that we didn't cover for the 5 of us, 6 of us? All right. Well, to summarize, we're going with the 5th at 2 o'clock at the 5th at 5 o'clock at Connection Point Church. We're going to do pizza. We're going to stick with that agenda. I will work on finding the appropriate person to, kind of orchestrate all the PowerPoint slides and talk about in general, and then bring other people up and question, answer, and all that. Jim Mathy, I think we have to talk to probably the 2 cities in the county to see where those leaders are in April, if we can get one afternoon where they're all available, or one time slot. And then we could go from there with Jim. I'm going to move forward with the Multi-Faith Alliance, starting with Lum, and we'll look for Brian to have my back. And then the call to action document, I'll float that out there to the rest of the team before I put it on change.org, because I'm okay with that, but I know some people might not be. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Should we meet in 2 weeks, or? It is already February 5th. We're a month away from the actual event. or we could meet the week before the event, just in case there's anything we need to talk about. I'm gonna propose that we meet on February 26th at 2 o'clock. And whoever could be there could be there. All right, and I will stop the recording and send this out as well. I might go back and edit some of my comments about the people that weren't here.
You said 2 o'clock on the 26th?
Yes. All right, well, thank you for doing that. Hopefully you got as much out of Jim Mathy speaking as I did.
Good.
He was great, and I do appreciate Don and Tim being there too. I don't know if you recognize Don from the film.
I recognize
but yeah.
them.
All right, folks, be careful out there.
Thank you
I'll
all.
see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.